Man, Austin,
Yeah.
the people don't seem to care when we get very technical in nature. If you guys are, you know what? Who knows though? By the time this actually comes out, there may be thousands of views on our chapter-approved mission deck review, but it does not seem to hit like the kind of stuff that we've got to talk about today. Because today we're talking about one of my favorite parts of the hobby. And we're talking about one of everyone's favorite parts of the hobby. We're combining a little combination, a little cosmic gumbo of, well, it's top 3 favorite paint brands. So it's painting, which I like, and it's buying stuff, which you all like. So we'll help you buy stuff with our own little experience and tell you why and what you should get or what you should try. And then you can give us your top 3 best paints down in the comments. It's 40K Fanatics Podcast. We're going to get right into it because we've also got a super top secret special thing that we're going to record once we get done with this. So perhaps today will be a slightly shorter episode, but I doubt it because once I get talking about painting, it can get deep, quite deep.
We are going to get into the weeds with this pigment talk.
Right into it. But first, we open up the Vox channel, and that is the part of the show where we read your comments, whether we agree or not. But week before last, we did the big reveals with Warhammer Skulls 2025, where we talked about video games, which was nice. But the comments have been a little light, so I'm going to read all of them. Dave and Company over on Spotify, where you need to give us 5 stars and review the podcast and listen there. He says, my son wants Space Marine 1 remastered, which would cost a lot of money. That's my own editorializing. He intends to play Space Marine 1 and then Space Marine 2, so he could see the whole story. He wasn't born for Space Marine 1. Certainly Bolt Gun 2 for me. Me too. Oh, quick little aside. Austin, I downloaded and have played the typing game twice now.
Oh yeah, how was it?
It's really good. It's actually a lot of fun. It's 3 little levels, and it's a bunch of you type. It's sort of an on rails shooter kind of thing, but you type what's the guy's name? Is it Malice Kaido or something like that?
Sounds about right.
It sounds right. The guy from Bolt Gun, he shoots all the baddies. And the trick is it's a bunch of Warhammer words, which are all kinds of crazy spellings and things. So I think I got some 52 words per minute, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's probably better than most. Errors don't really matter, except it slows you down because they don't count, but you don't have to backspace. You don't even have to space. It's got like 5 difficulty settings. I played it on medium, which was plenty. So that was nice. And I felt my typing improve immediately.
Wow.
Yeah. Craig Johnson says, also on Spotify, Talisman is cool. Looking forward to Bolt Gun 2. Everybody wants a Bolt Gun 2. And then over on the YouTube, the other best place to watch and listen and stuff, Paradukes says, some good hits of nostalgia coming up, but I'm just waiting on Total War 40K. I don't think it's been announced, has it? But it's totally going to be.
I want to touch on that.
Okay.
I don't see how you can do Total War 40K, given the way Total War is played.
I don't understand what you mean.
So Total War is all about the rank and flank. If you want to do a RTS 40K game, at the point where you're doing 40K Total War, it's no longer going to be Total War. I believe that Dawn of War was the best way to do an RTS 40K game because you had more lobbiness going on. You're not having all your guys ranked up as you would in a Total War game.
I don't know.
The Total War mechanics are all built around traditional rank and flank combat. And if you look at their entire catalog of eras and wars that they've produced games about, it's always been in that same kind of regimented period. They've never gone past any sort of rank and flank. So if they were to do 40K, they would have to do something ingenious with their mechanics and system where it would no longer be a Total War game.
I think that you would have a lot of chaff, right? You'd have a lot of guardsmen, and you'd have a lot of cultists, and you'd have a lot of that kind of thing. And they'd probably like extend that out to the max. Like Space Marine scouts might come in a unit of 100. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about game mechanics.
Yeah, no, I get it. It kind of doesn't make sense when 5 Space Marines are a unit.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about. Have you ever played Total War?
Yeah, I played Shogun 2 and Rome.
Well, the whole mechanics of the game is you get your guys and you have them in blocks or rectangles, and they're fighting other blocks and rectangles, and you are attempting to bypass their blocks and rectangles to hit their blocks and rectangles in the rear or sides.
Sure. You don't.
That's where it boils down to. 40K is a lot more fluid and blobby. You'd have like little squads going around doing things. Where at the point where you're doing something like that, it's no longer a Total War game because of the blobbiness and I don't know if I'm describing it very well, just asymmetrical aspect of 40K.
No,
a lot of
I get what you're saying. I think they're just gonna
Dawn of War system or Command and Conquer or what are those World War II RTS games that are out?
Hearts of Iron. I think that's
No, not Hearts of Iron. That Hearts of Iron is the Paradox game. I'm talking about. They had it recently. It was like North Africa, British.
Oh, I don't know.
But those kind of games feel more like how a 40K game should be done. I don't believe a Total War game gets into the 40K system unless they totally upend the way they produce their games.
I think the part that would be upended is that you would just have a rank and flank block of 60 Space Marines.
And I feel like that doesn't work for 40K.
I think that I think that people's I put in Warhammer the other day on Steam and got such a list of games. It was startling. I think if it says Total War and 40K on it, like, I mean, look, this is the dirty secret of video games as an industry right now, which is a whole nother podcast that we can do bonus pods on. But if it says Total War and 40K, it doesn't actually have to be any good or make any sense. There will be Total War fans who will go and play that, and they'll be quite shocked if they ever actually see 40K and see that it's not a rank and flank game. You know what I mean?
Real quick, that game is Company of Heroes that I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Company of Heroes. I've never played it. Yeah, like I say, I think that I think the money making potential of having the name Total War right next to the name Warhammer 40,000 is going to be a temptation too great to refuse. So we're going to get it, and it'll be interesting to see what it's like. Like I say, I think you're right about the sort of whole way that Total War plays, but I think that they'll just insert Space Marines and call it. You'll just have huge blocks of Space Marines.
I'm not against huge blocks. I'm just saying, like, the way the game plays currently is not conducive to the Warhammer 40K experience.
I agree with that. It will be interesting the whole way that they would be shooting at a distance and then suddenly it's chain swords. Like it kind of doesn't. like how's the mechanic going to work when your block of Space Marines and my block of Space Marines are stood, some 100 yards off shooting, and at what point does that turn into a charge situation? I don't know. But I'm glad that I don't have to solve that problem, because I promise you that whoever it is, the Total War people, they're going to be made to figure that out one way or the other, because of the age-old corporate producer trick of bleep you, give me money.
Yeah.
There's a little bonus on the Skulls pod. for you guys. That was good. I agree with you. I hadn't given much thought to that because even I am like, yeah, Total War 40K sounds great. Just because, honestly, how much success of the Total War games is based on them just being called Total War?
That's got a legacy behind it.
Well, I know it has a legacy now, but it just sounds like something you want to get into, doesn't it?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Um, because they haven't all been good. Didn't they do like a Total War Egypt or something that wasn't very good?
Yeah, that was their last historical game.
Yeah,
Total War Pharaoh.
that was it. Uh, let's open up the bits box and get to the next chunk of this thing.
Opening up the mix box. Ah!
The bits box is the part of the show where we talk about what we've done this week in the miniature hobby. This includes games we've played and stuff we've painted and things we've built and things we've bought. You can check out the bits box over on our Discord, which is totally free to join. How much does that cost, Austin?
Nothing.
Free's a good price. Free 99. Free Fritty. Anyway, what have you done in the miniature hobby this week?
Well, mine's been kind of a series of failures because I started to shift gears from painting to magnetizing my models for my carrying case because I'm realizing how long it's taking me to unpack the entire old world army.
Yeah.
Because I've got some of the stuff in the little jewelry case with kind of some protective napkins around them because they're metal miniatures, and so I've been looking at doing some magnetizing, but uh, unfortunately, the entirely new bottle of Loctite gel superglue that I had purchased from Dollar General the other day opened that up to attach some magnets to the bottom of my bases, and it came out just a completely liquid, soupy mess. And I was confused for a second because it's supposed to be gel superglue. The other one that I purchased did not do this, so I thought, do I need to shake it? Because I think the Gorilla Glue you have to shake it.
I
So
think what. Yeah, go ahead.
I shook this a little bit, and it did absolutely nothing. I want to see like just how much of this is just liquid. So this is a bad idea. This is me just going like full like angry mode, angry ape mode. Just going to my trash can and just squeezing that little uh like a little plastic tube with the little like plastic compresses to squeeze the inner tube that they've got inside the plastic packaging.
Mm-hmm.
And I just squeezed that thing, and it just literally looked like a squirt gun coming out. The entire contents of the super glue going into the trash can like a squirt gun. And I was just fed up. So no magnetizing was done this week. Did you want to hit on something?
Yeah, well, I wanted to just a little PSA for the audience because, you and I are the only ones playing Old World because we're bootstrapping that game. And, I didn't want to say anything because sometimes you can't just roast your homies the whole time. But man, it was a long old process for you to get unpacked to play some Old World. Between dozens
Yeah.
of napkins, stuff on trays, and then I there's just no way to organize that stuff when it's a blind box of things wrapped in napkins in a jewelry case. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, it probably took a whole turn and a half of time for you to just get ready to play. So I'm glad you're working on it. But
I'm,
but this is
I'm sure you were.
go
I was
ahead.
just say I'm sure you were home by the time that I just had left the game store.
Yes, yeah, and no amount of organization or anything even helps you to keep it straight when it's like that. Because in 2 weeks when you play again, it's like, oh, where did I put my goblin boss? Is he in this corner? No, that's a dwarf. That's another army. Um, but I tried to tell you that's what you get for using off-brand super glue.
It's literally not off-brand. It's Loctite.
I mean, you know what? Does it have Harambe on it? Because I
It does
use a
not. It
gorilla.
has.
It's off-brand. He was a man of the people.
He was.
Um, and the Gorilla Glue gel doesn't say to shake, but it says to bang it tip first onto something just to get it
That's
moving to the
that's what I was
tip.
getting at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which it's going to be thick then with the two C's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm painting wise. I'm currently painting my Goblin Shaman, and he's looking actually pretty well with just base paints. I'm liking how the green and the kind of sand colored for the bone, the Xandri dust, is turning out.
Yeah,
I
he
think
looked
it's
good in
looking
the
really
picture you
sharp.
posted, and you'll post that in the bits box too, I imagine, for
Yeah,
all to see.
probably when I get some more done with it.
I finally got one of my high elf mages painted so that I can now participate in the entire system of magic in Old World, and he looks great. I talked about a couple pods ago when I first built him that I put him on the puff of smoke. He had like three options for feet. He could stand on a rock, or he could stand on the ground, or he could have no feet at all and appear out of a wisp of smoke. So I did that, and it made him nice and tall, and he looks great. And I did some different stuff with him because he has this big cape, and I didn't want to um, abuse my cape colors with the sort of same airbrushing process of light blue or slightly darker blue, super light blue that I've done on all my other high elves. So I just sort of brush painted the same effect, and I think it turned out really good. Um,
Mhm.
I believe, if I'm remembering right, I think I went. Did I zenithal him? I think I put white paint on his cape to get some values there, and then I brush painted the rest of him, and he looks really good. You can see him over at the Bits Box on our totally free Discord, and let us know what you think. But yeah, it was neat. Did a little bit of fire on the end of his staff and things like that, and yeah, I'm excited to get him out there casting some spells for a change, so that I don't just have to
Oh yeah,
watch you nuke all the toughness off my units.
yeah. I always feel bad when I'm playing with my magic phase and you don't have much of anything to do against it.
No, but I got it now. I'll power him up to level 4 and zap you zap you around.
I have to do a wizard battle.
Yeah, that'll be good. What else have I done? I also am all but two models away from finished with another chariot. So, Old World Chariot has got a lot of parts if you're not gonna do a crappy job. Because my Old World army is very, very bright, is the idea. I kind of can't get away with just build something like a chariot with its horses and its carriage and its guys, and then just paint them, because there will be places that are hard to reach, and it'll dull the entire look of the thing. So I had to build it in 5 pieces, or paint it in 5 pieces.
Hmm.
So I got both horses, I got the chariot body, and then I still have yet to do the two riders. The driver and the bowman that hangs off the
Yeah.
side. Uh, but then I'll have yet another unit ready to go for Old World, and I'll be able to run 2 chariots at once and give you all those impact hits that you so fear.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then I also built and primed and decided to zenithal this time my Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer. This is not the one in Terminator armor. This is the regular Sorcerer. In my pursuit to have every character ever, and I think he's going to be good. I'm going to try to do. He's got like a big skirt thing, and then he's got a cape, and then he's got like a half sash, right? So very
Yeah.
little Space Marine armor, though he is wearing some sort of power armor, right? And my idea is I primed him black, zenithal him white, and I probably will not touch any of the what is going to be black again. And I'll just let
Okay.
that gray to darker, in the recesses and down toward the bottom, black read as black. And I predict that once all the other colors are on there, that what looks like a way too light colored white model will look right. So that's going to be a little bit
Hmm.
of an experiment of sorts. And then I'm not sure what color I'm going to do his cape. I might do red. I saw the guy Mamicon, I believe is his name. He's a big time painter guy. Uh, he can do some magic with a sponge on a cape, and I
Hmm.
think I may try to do the cape that way.
Oh yeah. Doing like I think I've done something similar with my bounty hunter I did for Necromunda a while back.
Yeah, you start with like in the case of a dark red cape, you'll sponge dark red, kind of as good as you can get it. If it doesn't make it all the way into the recesses, that's actually what you want, and then you sponge a little less
Yeah.
medium red, and then you sponge a little more, even a little less something else, and it gives you a textured gradient that looks very
Yeah.
much like velvet.
Mhm.
So that's sort of the short list of the plan. I may not do that. I don't know, but there's stuff on the desk. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. We like to see.
I don't think I've done anything else. I think that's it.
Close it.
Close it.
Boom.
All right. In our main topic today, we've got my favorite type of podcast to do. It's a top 3 list. We're
Top
gonna
three.
and it's top 3 paint brands. So these are mostly ones that I've used and a couple that I'm interested in using. I mean, I've got one OLI and then I've got the 3. And what we'll do is we'll go back and forth. We'll give our list. We'll talk about why, what we like about the various ranges, brands, etc. And even a lot of these brands, especially bigger ones, they've got multiple ranges. So you can get pretty specific with this stuff. Um, I've got one OLI. Do you have any? Oh, an OLI, by the way, folks, is an outside looking in. So that doesn't mean that it's number 4 on the list, but it means that it's like an honorable mention. It didn't quite make it, but it could have on another day.
I have one.
Splendid. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Oh, you can go first. You can start off.
All right. My OLI for top 3 paint brands is the Expert Artist full or heavy body acrylics. These are by Monument Hobbies, and what they are big old chunky paint on canvas type acrylics. They're only but so directed toward miniature hobby because you end up having to thin these down a lot. They tend to be single pigment paints, so they act wildly different from one to the next. Um, in fact, Vince Venturella, just on his YouTube, used these in his most recent hobby cheating video, or something like them, some full body acrylics. And it was very interesting listening to a real expert talk about how to work with them because you get some very different levels of transparency from one color to the next, which sounds bad because we're used to our bespoke miniature paints being as consistent as possible is the idea, right? In
Yeah.
how much water you need to put on them and then how well they cover from color to color. Obviously, yellows never cover as well as blues, but they try to get it as close to a level of equilibrium as they're able to. These full body acrylics, they don't do that at all. But the thing that you do get is there's no anything else in there to let's say sully your paint mixing. So if you're someone who is really good at that, then these are very handy for that kind of thing. Now, I've bought some full body acrylics, and the sort of stuff that I use them for is things like whites. If I want to dry brush a bunch of white, especially on things like terrain, they're very cheap, they're very thick, they dry brush up with a great big brush, really nice. And because the pigment load is such that you don't ever have to go back over anything, they just goop on there and work good. So that's
Mhm.
my OLI because it's almost not even a miniature paint, but it is certainly a range, and more companies in the miniature sphere are coming out with them.
Yeah, that's interesting because I don't know if I've really heard of them.
You know what they look like at Hobby Lobby because honestly, you could just go there and get whatever the art. I forget what the brand is at Hobby Lobby, but they're in the metal tubes
Okay.
and they say acrylic, and that's what we're talking about. They come out looking like cheese whiz because they're so thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh huh. Okay. Uh, my OLI is Army Painter.
Army Painter is only in your OLI?
Yeah.
As you might imagine, it's higher on my list. But go ahead, tell me about Army Painter.
So my experience with just the Army Painter acrylics hasn't been the best. Uh, they seem excessively chunkier and kind of just thicker than a lot of the other paints I've painted with. And they feel kind of like a I don't know if they've reformulated recently, but when I used them like a couple years ago, I felt like I was painting with like the off brand. That's how it kind of felt.
Yeah,
Like
I think
they weren't as good as some of the other brands, but they kind of like got the job done for like $1 less.
sure. I will speak on Army Painter later in my list.
But I still have my main thing with your thing that I enjoyed about them was I was looking for expanding my washes, and this was around the time that Games Workshop had been just reformulating their washes or getting rid of them and doing a lot of just stuff they probably shouldn't have done to shake the boat with their washes. And Army Painter and their wash helped me kind of push a bit of the load onto them rather than relying on Games Workshop. I believe it was their like light sepia, their like light wash, helped me with doing my British forces for Flames of War. Trying to get more of a subtle wash than kind of like the darker washes that a lot of other washes are.
Yeah,
Uh,
and they've got a ton of them. Is the other thing too. I mean, they've got so
yeah,
many different. It's just levels of brown wash.
yeah.
It's
Another thing,
almost like painting faces in a bottle too, because you throw some color tan and then just go grab any old Army Painter, you know, skin tone wash, or light tone, dark tone, medium tone, etc.
yeah,
They got flesh tone, this, that, and the other. You goop a little bit of that on there, and it's like, I don't really have to paint faces if I don't want to.
yeah, and a special shout out to their primer range, the rattle can primer. They're really good if you have a specific color you're looking for. Like when I going back, my British forces for Flames of War was like totally upheld by Army Painter with their bone colored rattle spray. Doing that, just one coat, basically did most of my base coating for my British tanks for the desert. So if you're looking for like a one color primer that one for one matches what the color of their paints are, they're good for that because I know Games Workshop. I had once bought their gray Mechanicus standard gray primer to prime some tanks with, and by the time I had primed them and then started painting a bit of the parts that didn't get hit as well with their actual potted Mechanicus standard gray, it was like a complete like different color. The spray had more of a green hue to it, while the pots were kind of more of like a purplish blue going on
Just
undertone.
a totally different
Yeah, it was.
world.
Yeah, I was like, I primed them to get kind of like a base layer going. Now I got to go back over and repaint the whole thing with the actual color I'm looking for. It's just horrible.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. Um, my number three. And once again, everybody, put your top three paint brands or what you think of our list down in the comments on Spotify or YouTube or anywhere else that there are comments to be left. I've got Vallejo.
Okay.
So Vallejo's kind of interesting in that they've got what their game color range and their model color range, and
Hmm.
they're basically the same with sort of more fanciful names from one to the next, as far as I can tell. But
Yeah.
I like the dropper bottles. I like how the model color range, the names of the paints are very traditional. You know, it'll be
Yeah.
something green, yada yada tan, right?
Yeah.
This one's a blue or this one's a blue green. I really like that because, um, spoiler alert, Citadel is not on my list. I
Okay.
cannot deal with just whatever random name from a book that they're calling a paint. I don't know what that means. I don't know what's in it. It's hard to tell looking at the pot what color it actually is. I don't Some of them you can mix because they only have a couple of pigments. Some of them you cannot mix with anything because they've got who knows how many different colors in them. And so you try to mix them and they turn into, you know, baby poop. So I like the Vallejo for being a little more sort of true to what it says it is. Now, you do get some fairly drastically different consistencies, I feel like. Which, if all you ever use is Vallejo, and a lot of people do, you get used to it. You get used to the yellows being super super thin, and the browns being almost chunky. And one is a no water added, and one is a 3 brushes of water added, and I guess you just get used to having that as a you know in your head all the time. But they're my
Yeah.
number three.
So they're my number three as well.
Okay, what do you have
Uh,
to say about
my
them?
my I love the dropper bottles. They work great the majority of the time. I've had a couple cases where the either improper storage or just shaking them too hard has kind of caused paint to come out of the top while it's got the topper on.
Yeah, sometimes those
So it
toppers
kind of
seem like
creates
they
a mess
crack.
when you unscrew it. It can create kind of a mess. But overall, I like them. I like their traditional colors. I like those. What I don't like about them are their metallics range, at least from what my experience with them. Because
Um,
I've
yeah,
used their brass, and their brass didn't really want to paint or cover very well. Uh,
you know,
I was trying to paint some
I,
cannons for Civil War,
yeah,
and it
I, I,
didn't
I
work
had
out
a,
very
I
well.
had a Vallejo copper that was quite good, but then I also had a silver and a gold, and the silver was fine over black, and the gold wouldn't cover anything.
That's probably similar to how it was brass is what it was. Painting my brass, uh, trying to get the coverage on it was horrible, so I kind of gave up on any other metallics.
Yeah,
And Vallejo has a partnership with Flames of War, producing like paint packs for them for painting armies. I enjoyed that for painting my British, picking up the late war British kind of European colors with them and having everything in there I would need for it. I enjoyed that with them. But yeah, Vallejo's my number three. They're okay, I guess. They're kind of a good alternative to some of the other brands if you're still kind of looking for that kind of more affordable range.
yeah, and you can get them at Hobby Lobby too, which I think is handy. So
Yeah.
I think availability is not an insignificant part of at least this top three list in our case, because obviously, don't get in the comments and be like, you can just order it all on Amazon or wherever. Like we know that, but sometimes I'm at the game store and I remember, oh, I need a brown of some sort. Let me just pick from one of
Yeah.
these 5 browns and take it with me, and close out my tab for my sodies and my chips.
Yeah.
You know, um, my
Hmm.
number two My number two is Pro Acryl. Now, this one
Okay.
is kind of an interesting take for me because I have used a couple of the Pro Acryl colors, and I don't like them. The colors are fine. I don't like the consistency, and I don't like just there's something to. I believe they use some kind of different sort of medium than most of these other paint brands that we talk about. And I don't so much care for that. And I think the reason is that I don't have the whole range of them. And so every time I take one of them out, it is like all of, I'm used to riding a bicycle and now I'm riding a tricycle or whatever. And for that one color, it sort of feels like the whole thing gets topsy turvy to me. However, with that said, I believe a grand majority of the recent, you know, since Pro Acryl's been around, Golden Demon winners have been using Pro Acryl.
Okay.
So some painters that I really like on YouTube have got signature boxes with colors that they have picked. Like it's a real thing, and it's regarded to be excellent, and I don't disagree. However, it is not what I am used to, and therefore I shy away from it. However, it is undeniable that it is my number two best paint range Like, in my opinion, man.
Yeah.
What's your number 2? Or do you have thoughts on pro acrylic paints?
I mean, I don't have a thought on them at all. I've never considered using them. I've never really looked into them very much.
I tell you something I dislike immensely about them, though. If I can just make my own grind my personal axe on them. Um, they use a dropper bottle, but it's a twist top. So you twist it, and
Yeah.
that opens it at the top, and then you squeeze it out, and then you twist it closed, right? And
Mm.
I don't know why they do that, because you just end up with paint on the tip of this bottle that is wet and dripping down, and I'm not trying to dab stuff all the time. I find I end up with
Yeah.
paint on me, and I don't want paint on me. I want paint on the wet palette. Thank you.
Yeah.
But again, all that said, they appear to be supremely excellent. So, Pro Acryl, my number 2.
My number 2 is Duncan Rhodes. Is it? I think it's two thin coats.
Yeah, the old heavy metal video guy, long since now away from Games Workshop and doing his own thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing you talking about it like that because I don't think you were around for Duncan Rhodes,
I was not, but you hear about him all the time. He
and that's weird for me. This is like someone talking about how old something is, and you grew up with that, so it's kind of like, well, what are you talking about? That's not old.
Yeah, I mean, as I understand, like he taught a lot of people how to paint.
Yeah, he was the go-to. You want to learn how to paint a space marine? Here's how you paint a space marine. Here's how you do this. Here's this technique. It was very approachable. He was the almost Bob Ross of miniature painting.
Now, was when he was teaching was I've never even seen any of the videos. Were they the heavy metal like out of the book style where we're gonna base coat and then we're gonna wash and then we're gonna highlight?
Yeah, yeah. It was like first you do this, and then you shade, and then you apply this. Yeah, it's almost exactly like that. There are a couple times where you kind of like broke those rules by starting off with a layer paint or something like that, but just real simple stuff that anyone could do.
That's crazy.
But I recently tried his paints recently, and they are I think they're great. I've I've only used one of his actual paints. I've got it right here. This ivory tusk. It's kind of an off-white color, and I feel like it covers really well. I was using it to paint the teeth on my trolls, and I'm probably going to be using it for teeth coming forward for many things. Comes out pretty well. It covers really well for a white or an off-white. Because I was painting this over black, and it only needed literally like two coats to cover the black. Uh, so I am really pleased with it. But the thing that really drew me to his paint range were his washes. This is going to be a theme of mine, I guess, for my list is washes. Uh, he's got the Oblivion Black Wash, and I feel like this is the closest thing that one can find to the traditional Games Workshop known oil. Uh, but they kind of discontinued. They replaced it with a new formula of known oil, but it's nothing like the original known oil. It doesn't create the same kind of effect. It's just a completely inferior product at this point. So trying to find that known oil that I started my hobby career with has been just a white well of mine, trying different things, and I think this is the closest that one can find to the original known oil, and it is just superb the way that it works on the model. I've got another one, kind of a sepia tone. I didn't get a flesh tone, but I think I'm going to be trying to buy this entire range of wash because I am just enamored with this paint range.
I think that the Duncan Rhodes paints too, for all those people that are the opposite of me and really enjoy the Citadel colors and their ridiculous names. I think there's a chart where he's sort of has got his version of every single one of them. I believe.
Oh yeah, they're quite similar.
Yeah, so that's handy too. I like that. I like that. The two thin coats range by Duncan Rhodes, available at least one of the friendly local game stores here around us. So they must be easy to find. Um,
Possibly.
it's time for number 1. You may have noticed I've not mentioned Army Painter again yet because it's my number one.
What?
Yeah, so let me sell you. I'm gonna try to sell you on the Army Painter because
Okay.
one, just in the fairly short time that I have been a hobbyist, they have reformulated all their speed paints and they've come out with an entire new range, which is the Fanatics range that I use and really enjoy. And I believe their regular Army color range has also been redone in that time. So, you're constantly getting development. The other thing that Army Painter does, and I think they do this better than anybody, is they manage to maintain just a massive catalog of stuff. Depending on the sort of thing you want to do, they've got stuff for you. They've got so many colors of primer, and then they color match the primer to the paints in multiple ranges. So whether you got regular Army paint, I think they claim it for the speed paint. Uh, they've got metallic speed paints, which sounds crazy to me. So they've got everything, every type of paint that you could want, with regard to contrast or regular acrylic or whatever. They've even got an entire airbrush range. Again, with the color matching to the primers and to the other paints. So, for instance, if you take Army Painter Gunmetal Primer, and then you take the Gunmetal Air, and you take the Gunmetal Metallic, they all match. I seen it. It's a magic trick. Um, so are they the best at any of this? I don't know, but they tend to be supremely available, which is good. And then you kind of get the sort of naming convention consistent throughout, so you always know what it is that you're looking at, whether it's a speed paint or a regular acrylic or even an airbrush paint or even a primer. They tend to name the things both somewhat not as far as Citadel, but somewhat fantastical with regard to the uh, new Fanatics range, because it's sort of the fantasy range, if you will. But then down at the bottom, it says in sort of traditional artist jargon what the color is, and then they even have got a little bar chart for like from brighter to darker in that section of tones, right? Of in the tans, and they make like five of them.
Yeah.
A new thing they've done is they've come out with with a historicals range where you get your U.S. olive drab color, and it's matched. Like they've gone to sort of museums and stuff to find what this color is supposed to look like. Now, I quibble with the concept of that, as I always do. It's my gripe about how GW will say, or Citadel will say, well, this is ultramarine blue, so that's the color of an ultramarine. To which I say, well, is it ultramarine blue, the color is space marine, over white or over black? Because there's going to be a difference. Short of putting 37 coats of this on either of those colors, like, what are you talking about? Like,
Now, I want to I want to touch on something real quick.
go ahead.
You talking about they color matched it to the tank. That set off a bunch of alarm bells in my mind because I have gone down this rabbit hole of trying to paint for World War II, and I have seen lots of we'll call them grognard experienced hobbyists going into lengthy details and lengthy arguments with details about what color they should paint their tanks, comparing the different swatches and comparing like historical photographs and taking those swatches and putting them through different sepia and black and white filters based on different film grains and different films that would have been available at the time, and comparing the shades of gray and black to the results, and having just massive arguments about it. And I'm just here trying to figure out what shade is olive drab for my tanks, and it's just a rabbit hole.
Well, and the army painter have sent guys to as close to the source as you can get now and have given their 2 cents on what that is. And you look, some people just like to fuss on the internet. There will still be people that are like, I don't know, that doesn't look like the right color taupe to me. But I mean, if you know, if we got an old, if we got an old bottom drawer of a dresser set of pants, and they've seen them and said this paint color looks like it matches that, then it's. I mean, I was about to say it's good enough for me. I don't actually care, but it's a thing they're doing. Similar to the Vallejo, like you were saying, where you can get the set that goes for British infantry. They're doing that now in Army Painter too, and I very much like the consistency, the coverage, the workability of their new Fanatics range. Which is kind of their new flagship range. Um, I don't mess too much with the speed paints because I don't mess too much with speed paints. However, their metallics were absolutely excellent. The new Army Painter Fanatics range metallics, which is why I went ahead and bought what did I buy? The 50 something paint set of the Fanatics, and they're all just as good as those metallics were in all the ways that I appreciated. And then they've got washes. So all the washes that we talked about, how Army Painters got so many washes, they've reformulated a whole new chunk of washes, or at least repackaged them as the Fanatics range, and they're great. The quote, I love the names too because they're very simple. The dark wash, you put it on silver, and something like a scale mail or a chain mail, and just by magic, all your little indentations are black now, without polluting very much your silver. And it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted you to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then they've got all the flesh tones and the light tone and the dark tone and all this stuff that does exactly what it says on the tin. The light tone, it's not very dark, but it is a tone of some sort, and it
Yeah.
kind of, it'll kind of stain the cheeks of your paratrooper or your space marine
Mm-hmm.
face,
Yeah.
or the fletching of your yellow arrows. So I like them a lot, and just again, the takeaway here for me is the vastness of the range. If you want it, they got it, and I like that. So for me, my number one's Army Painter. What is your number one, sir?
So here I am about to drop the nuke. My number one is Citadel.
That's crazy talk. They're so inconsistent from one to the next.
So here's what I like about them. Okay,
Go ahead.
I like that. I like that they have a set base color, they have a set shade color, and they have a set highlight color. A series of highlights. I enjoy that for my regimented mindset when it comes to painting, where I'm like, you gotta do the base, you gotta do the shades, you gotta do the highlight, the layers. I am Duncan pilled on this. I
You
am
are so
set
Duncan
in that
pilled.
mindset. I
You
am.
are so Duncan pilled. It's crazy to me.
I like the names that they have. They tell me, they inform me what colors they are based on my knowledge of the lore and what they can be used to paint.
They don't tell
Ultramarines
me
blue is
anything.
obviously it's an Ultramarines blue. This is used for this. This is Altdorf Guard blue. This can be used to paint Altdorf Guards. Uh, Xandri Dust. Xandri is a desert in Warhammer Fantasy. Therefore, this is good for painting sand. It is just, and even my mind, when I conceptualize colors, I can look at something and go, okay, yeah, that over there, that looks like corn red. I like corn red. That's Mephiston red. That's Wasdaka red. I've got my whole mind based around the Citadel color wheel going on, the Citadel range. Uh, I like that. Their shades used to be amazing. I've since replaced them with two thin coats, as I said, but it's very much they are a blanket of nostalgia and comfort and familiarity. And if they could ever fix their pots, they would be the greatest paint range of all time.
Okay, I was literally just about to say it doesn't bother you when you can't get the damn pot to close back when you're done because you've got
Then
all
I
that.
get to pay Games Workshop for more paint for the glory of using their paint after their failed design dries out everything inside the pot.
Yeah, and golly, man, they're so bad. Some of
I
them,
love them.
some of them are thin nearly to the point of being speed paints when you pick them up, or contrast paints. And then others are like the consistency of mayonnaise. You flip that top over and it's just a big old glob. All their browns are that way that I've ever seen.
Are you telling me that White Scar is not a pot of mayonnaise or cottage cheese?
It's like they don't participate in any of the technological improvement or chemistry improvement that all the other paint ranges for miniatures are experimenting with. They're just like, yeah, no, the yellows are going to be pretty thin and the browns are going to be pretty chunky. And sorry. Also,
Here's the
go ahead.
here's the secret to yellow. Secret to yellow is you take your Bugman's Glow first, and you paint Bugman's Glow on what you're going to be painting yellow. Then you hit it with your Averland Sunset, and then you can shade it up. You can shade it, and then after that, then you can hit it with Uriel Yellow. Get those highlights going.
Until that last one, I have no idea what those colors could possibly be.
They are fantastic.
It's terrible. Also, I just, again, I quibble with the concept of ultramarine blue, for instance.
What?
If I prime black, zenithal white, and then put 2 thin coats of ultramarine blue, it's a different blue from his feet to the top of his head. And yet, we're just like, and that's the blue. That's the one.
What? Here's the way to look at it, okay? Ultramarine blue over a white or a black is what color lighting he's under.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Is he nighttime ultramarine blue or is he daytime ultramarine blue?
Yeah, but you can do that with any old blue in the world. You make it read as some sort of neutral blue, and now it's an ultramarine.
You gotta paint him ultramarines TM blue.
So ridiculous. And then wash him in known oil, and then paint him blue a second time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You and I could not be on more different roads in our painting, right? Like you're on a crusade to find the washes of the before time. You want to tear through the warp back to about 2001, where you get all the traditional Citadel washes. And I'm like, how can I not use a wash ever again?
I'm not even going to 2001. I'm going to 2017.
Yeah, but I mean, they probably had some other washes you'd like to have from back in the day, no?
I don't know. I think the washes are kind of a new concept.
Are
kind of
they?
a newer. They'd be like, yeah, they weren't that old, I don't think.
They rejigged them pretty quickly. I mean, yours is a common complaint. I mean, I hear everybody talking about the old known oil is so much better. This new oil sucks.
Yeah.
To which I'm like, stop dipping all your stuff. They look dull, tired.
I like them dull. I like them dull and dark and grim.
I want my best paint jobs to only be visible underneath close inspection and bright light.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've got another pod for like painting concepts for another day. But those are our top 3 paint ranges, according to us. Let us have your list down in the comments. Give us 5 stars over on the Spotify, and also don't forget to join that Discord. It's totally free. If you go to the YouTube page, you can find it, or it's down in the Spotify description. And you can post your stuff and let us know what you think of ours, and we'll just have a lovely time. And until next time, don't ever forget to
stay fanatical.